This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
Air Niugini cancel all domestic flights today. Superannuation and life review completed. And Rex Kiponge's request refused by Supreme Court. A very good evening. You're watching National EMTV News. I'm Grace Papiali. Thank you for joining us. Hundreds of passengers were left stranded today as Air Niugini cancelled all its domestic operations today. This comes following Puma Energy's announcement that it will not supply fuel to all commercial airlines due to a shortage of US dollars, which has affected its operations in purchasing fuel.
This was the scene at the Jackson's domestic terminal this morning. All Air Niugini flights have been grounded as of this morning throughout the country. Hundreds of passengers were at the waiting area at the airport this morning with cargoes desperate for some feedback from Air Niugini. Passengers who were supposed to travel out from Port Moresby by Air Niugini were told to wait at the airport until midday to be informed on what to do. In a press statement released late yesterday evening, Air Niugini management advised that the situation is totally out of their control. Unfortunately, there is no alternative supplier of aviation fuel in most airports, including Port Moresby. Air Niugini also advised that they have been forced to announce a cancellation of all domestic flights due to Puma Energy's refusal to supply Jet A1 fuel to the airlines. This cancellation will now have to be ongoing until Puma restrictions are removed. Puma Energy confirmed in a media statement this afternoon that due to pending approval of foreign currencies by relevant authority, they are unable to continue maintaining the necessary supply of product to all the customers. Meanwhile, Bank of PNG Acting Governor Benny Popotai was quizzed this morning on the plight of Puma Energy if there was a shortage of foreign currency affecting Puma Energy's operations.
What we do is the central bank supplies foreign exchange to the commercial banks, and they're the ones who distribute to all their clients. So we are not Puma's client. Puma also supplies retail and as well as to Air Niugini and others. Who link Puma with us is wrong.
The situation between Puma Energy and the refusal to supply Jet A1 fuel to the airlines will no doubt affect business and the traveling public during this peak season. With no flights out of domestic airports around the country, millions of kina are being lost. Samantha Solomon, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, Air Niugini also cancelled its flights out of Kagamega Airport. Mount Hagen were also cancelled this morning. This was due to fuel supplier Puma Energy being unable to access US dollars to purchase Jet A1 fuel to supply Air Niugini, as per a press statement late yesterday.
EMTV checked at Kagamega Airport this morning and flights PX181, PX183 and PX185 for the morning have been cancelled. A notice that the airport gate advised customers to rebook their flights at the Air Niugini sales office in Mount Hagen. However, the sales office in the city was closed today, with staff saying there would not be any flights today. This was after staff at the airport announced the cancellation and advised passengers to rebook at the sales office in town. According to Air Niugini staff, the passengers would get an SMS message on their mobile phone numbers registered when booking their flights so that they would be updated regarding their rescheduled flight, possibly tomorrow. Samantha Solomon, National EMTV News.
Domestic flights into Western Province were being cancelled as well due to fuel shortages currently faced in all airports across the country. Travelling passengers in Daru and Kiunga were advised to rebook their seats in the next available flights. MTV News visited the Kiunga airport today and confirmed with the officials that Air Niugini's flight PX 804 and PX 805, including PNG Air, have been cancelled. According to the public notice pasted at the airport, all flights will resume once this issue is resolved. Traveling passengers in Western Province have been urged to remain calm and wait for formal announcements for flights this weekend once aviation authorities address this problem. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will visit Papua New Guinea next week for a two-day official visit. Prime Minister James Marape announced this today. Prime Minister Albanese will be in the country from the 12th to the 13th of January to attend the annual Leaders Dialogue alongside his counterpart, Prime Minister Marape, in Port Moresby.
Following the annual Leaders' Dialogue, the Prime Ministers will travel together to Wewak to visit the resting place of the late Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare, which will see Prime Minister Albanese lay a wreath on the tomb of the late Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. Marape said he is looking forward for the visit. He said for Prime Minister Albanese to start the new year with a visit to PNG reinforces the strong bond between the two countries. Marape said Australia and PNG have a long history, and this visit will strengthen their shared vision for the future, and added that Australia is a very important foundation bilateral partner of PNG as far as nation-to-nation relations are concerned. Marape assured the people of PNG that preparations are fully underway for the visit by Prime Minister Albanese, organized by the Foreign Affairs Minister Justin Tachenko. Part of the program will include Prime Minister Albanese addressing National Parliament as a mark of respect to the Australian leader as PNG marches towards 50th anniversary of independence. Marape added that it is only befitting that the leader of the Australian Labor Party, which granted independence to PNG in 1975 through the leader Gout Whitlam, be given this honour of addressing the National Parliament. Sharon Engnui, National MTV News.
National MTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National MTV News. Following the mass burial of the 127 unclaimed bodies by the Port Moresby General Hospital, concerns over the respect for the identity and proper burial services of the unclaimed bodies have been raised today by the heads of the Final Journey Home Foundation. Peter Boru, General Secretary and Managing Director Russell Kivia of the association, highlighted that limited capacity at the hospital's morgue still remains, and they have called for collaboration between the Foundation Health Department and the National Capital District Commission to address this issue going forward.
The 127 unclaimed bodies laid to rest yesterday at the 9 Mile Public Cemetery have untold stories. Many people have been confined to the thought that lack of financial resources to organize a proper burial service has led to such. However, collaboration from different entities is vital as hospitals' morgue capacity continues to run out of space. Managing Director of the Final Journey Home Foundation, Russell Kivai, said he was at the site yesterday and what he witnessed was inappropriate and upsetting. He said how the mass burial was carried out is illegal under the Cemetery Act of the Constitution. Mr. Kivai is appealing to the Department of Health and the NCDC to consider the importance of the deceased identity going forward as they have loved ones that are left behind.
They are human beings like you and I. So even if you put him also coffin, you may put him, this body blow but come up dust. So at least you may put him one body, then put him on some ground. You may put him ground again, okay, you may put another body on top of this. So this how we walk him this mess burial last day I was there, and at least me feel him some inner right. And someone has to speak for them. And I believe the foundation, PNG Foundation, it's what we are doing. We're trying to, I think, respect him identity. help him or some of the family, I believe, also sort of the financial problem.
General Secretary Peter Boru said the foundation is the voice of those who have passed on already. It serves to repatriate loved ones back to their place of origin for proper burial.
We have morgue capacity situations where we just cannot handle the situation. It's been overloaded every now and then. There are mass burials taking place that really are not looking into processes where that dead loved one is respected one way or another. So that's the whole reason why this entity was established to look into this.
On behalf of the entity, they appealed to the government and business entity to back the foundation in terms of finance to help them run their program to help give a proper burial service to the unclaimed bodies. The foundation was established last year. Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
Residents at the Geno Police Barracks in the Mosby South electorate for years have been faced with access to water. Today, residents aired their grievances, calling on responsible authorities to step in and help fix the problems. They say because of the water problems, it has affected their lives.
Water, a source of life, where almost everyone needs water to live and survive, water to cook, water to wash, and almost need it daily. In the suburb of Calgary, in the nation's capital, for Geno Police Barracks, where water has been an ongoing issue and people have been suffering here for some decades now. According to residents occupying the barracks, after many attempts in raising this issue, it has fallen on deaf ears. With no proper reply from the suppliers, residents have been left alone to resolve this problem. To air their views on the issue of water, residents today spoke to EMTV News in the hope of getting some positive feedback or news on their appeal.
Mipla since 97 Mipla moving Lodisla barracks. Mipla been got problem no wara long pla time to mas. How ba Mipla kisim wara na pukim kay blol piginini logo lo walk. Go to school, all man by go to walk, all man go to walk, all come, all looking Mipla. Nogat wara e mol wok lo elpi mipla lo pulmapim wara tu nakarem wara lo barracks mipla ol tamlo line ol sexy wara tasol ino ogera time na mipla antap line em nogat na nogat ogeta.
Today, young men, women and children carried out their empty containers and buckets to show how they are struggling to find water. They say cooking, bathing and laundry has been too difficult and sometimes nothing is clean, which is unhygienic.
So toilet time pull up house o the smell pepek sa gunsa lo room ya. So mi plus use a drain wara lo road upset. So mi plus oxim bucket mi plus go upset na plus si drain wara kam go antap lo. Toilet na plus flushing toilet ya. So every day mi plus make this la ya.
They said toilet facilities for the 26 houses, including units and standalone homes, are facing sewage problems, and sometimes the houses are left due to the build-up of the sewer. Water is brought from nearby settlements and drainage areas where they can find water only to make life easier for them. They are now calling on the police hierarchy, but also extended their cry to local MP for Mosby South, Justin Tachenko, to look into their problem and help bring water into their homes. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
The former National Airports Corporation Managing Director Rex Kiponge, in his attempt to request the Supreme Court to grant him a stay on his application recently, has been refused by Justice Colin Mikael as a single-man Supreme Court judge last week Friday, the 30th of December 2022. The Supreme Court motion was between Rex Kiponge, Walter Schnobelt as Minister for Transport and Civil Aviation and shareholder of the National Airports Corporation Limited, with the National Executive Council and the state. The Supreme Court has refused the stay application for Rex Kiponge, former airports boss who got suspended by the National Executive Council decision around December 2022. Kiponge in late December has taken the matter to the National Court for the court to review that decision, of which his application for leave was unsuccessful. Last week, Friday, the 30th of December 2022, a decision was handed down where Kiponge has appealed for the court to grant a stay in his application. This was on the grounds for the court to grant leave to review the ministerial decision made by Transport and Civil Aviation Minister Walter Schnorbelt. However, the court refused on the grounds that the application was incompetent. State lawyer Tauvasa Tanuvasa alluded on this, saying application for stay should be argued under Section 18 of the Supreme Court Act.
When the court refuses leave or what they say permission to review, then you cannot go any further. It's now gone, it's dismissed, that's all. And they're not happy with DCJ's decision to deny them leave, deny them permission to review that NEC decision, right? That's with the constitutionality or legality of any act of parliament or any law is always Section 18 and Section 19, and we all know that.
Current CPL Group and CPL Foundation Director Stephanie Corpus Campbell has recently been appointed as Ambassador for Gender Equality for Australia, an appointment made by the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. This role serves to deepen Australia's international engagement on gender equality.
With her expertise in community development, gender equality and health, she will advocate the importance of women's rights, ending gender-based violence, women's economic empowerment, and the leadership of women and girls. Ms. Corpus Campbell currently serves as a board director, both with the CPL Group and the CPL Foundation. Stephanie also serves as director for other public and private enterprise in PNG. She has been involved in multiple programs in PNG over the years focused on health, leadership, education, and women's empowerment and protection. The board, management, and staff of CPL Group PNG have extended their best wishes and congratulations to her recent appointment. CPL's Group Chairman Stan Joyce said this appointment is a testament to the credentials Stephanie has and complements the core values of CPL, which has always been about empowering women in the communities. Sir Mahesh Patel, CPL's group founder and chairman of the CPL Foundation, added that Stephanie has been an integral part of CPL Foundation since its inception. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
A group of Morobe students from the University of Papua New Guinea, in partnership with the UPNG Student Representative Council, carried out an awareness program throughout the province. They have covered the 10 districts of Morobe within a small span of time. It was to highlight matters that are important to the province, like education, small-medium enterprises, health, and many more.
The initiative is between the UPNG students from Morobe Province and UPNG's SRC. It was a program fully funded by the Governor for Morobe Province, Luta Wenge. A group of students took the lead to go ahead with the awareness program led by the SRC President for UPNG, Luta Kissing. They started in the Makam district and concluded the awareness program today in Menyamia district in the remote part of the province. Despite the rough road conditions, the students made their way into the villages to educate the people on the importance of education, health, business, law and order, and many other issues. Villagers came in numbers to listen to the students. UPNG SRC President Luther Kissing highlighted the places they have covered.
We covered 2 districts of Moro Province already, which is Makam district and our district. So now we are right in the Wawere district, the new district that was created during the elections. So this district is basically far away from the province of Moro Bay, and it's 1 kilometer away from the Gal province. So basically we are in a big village called Biaru. So this place, in a small setting where there's not a lot of services of the government coming to this place. So we came with 39 students, 70 students with 39, some other people for external support.
The theme for the awareness program was Kirapi Morobe. Samantha Solomon, National MTV News.
And now we take a look at the Nest Fund market report. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.2840 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.2765 $0.4013 Australian dollars, $0.2533 euro, and 36.17 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee closed lower, cocoa closed higher, copra closed lower, palm oil closed lower, crude oil is trading lower, copper closed lower. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National MTV News continues after the break with more stories. Stay with us. You're watching National MTV News. A review on superannuation and life insurance sectors will soon be made available following the completion of the independent review conducted by the Superannuation and Life Review Committee, which was commissioned by Minister for Treasury Ian Stuckey in 2020. The committee's findings and recommendations was presented today to the acting governor of the Bank of Papua New Guinea, Benny Popoitai.
The superannuation and life insurance industries play a critical role in mobilizing savings and make strategic investments with the objective to provide a comfortable retirement for their contributing members and protect policyholders and their beneficiaries from the risk of illness and death. Given the significance of both industries to PNG's economy, it is vital to ensure the legislative and regulatory framework in which they operate is consistent with international best practices and takes into consideration domestic circumstances and stakeholder expectations. In 2020, a review was undertaken through the direction of the Superannuation and Life Insurance Review Committee, or SLIRC. The members that made up the committee comprised of business experts in PNG and supported by 2 overseas technical experts. SLIRC Chairman Erastus Kamburi spoke of the work done by the committee.
Difficult for the committee to conclude its report. It has taken some time. The Bank of PNG and the acting governor has been very considerate in that regard in allowing the committee sufficient time, given those circumstances, to complete the report.
Deputy Chairman for SLIRC, Peter Aitzi, spoke on the practical importance of the review following stakeholder consultations around the country after receiving feedback from the stakeholders and other interested parties.
Importance in both two ways. One, obviously, the protection of our employees and workers in the accumulation of their savings, retirement savings and superannuation. And on the insurance side, just the protection of business being conducted in PNG, but also the protection of personal assets as well, and ultimately life insurance being the protection of an individual's own.
Acting Governor for the Bank of Papua New Guinea, Benny Popoitai, in receiving the completed review, gave an indication of one of the recommended changes.
That the insurance will not have 2 regulators. General insurance and life insurance will be 1 regulator. So there's a recommendation they have made and it's been implemented. Life insurance and general insurance will be under 1 regulator.
The SLIRC was supported by a secretariat that comprised of both BPNG and Department of Treasury. The findings of the review will be made available to the general public following the presentation by the Bank of PNG to Treasurer Ian Stuckey. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
The Catholic community in PNG is alarmed and is raising concern to the Indian High Commission in PNG on the current outrageous acts of violence committed to Catholics and other Christians in India. This followed an outrageous mob attacking a Catholic church called the Sacred Heart Church in Edka village in Narayanpur district in India on the 2nd of January 2023. In this latest violence, hundreds of armed villagers attacked the Sacred Heart Church at Edka village in India. The Secretary for Commission for Catholic New Evangelization of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, Father Victor Roach, made a strong appeal to the Indian High Commission of PNG. Father Victor, on behalf of the Catholics living in PNG, is appealing to the High Commission of India in PNG to raise his voice to the Indian government. This is to stop these atrocities on Christians and other minorities committed by other religious groups against Christians in India. Father Victor is appealing to Catholics and other Christians living in the country to pray for the persecuted Christian believers in India. Moving to overseas news now, Pope Francis is set to preside over the funeral service of his predecessor, Benedict XVI, who died last week.
In one part of the Vatican, Pope Francis was making an appearance in his weekly audience. He started by paying tribute to his predecessor, whose funeral he'll lead tomorrow. A very short distance away, thousands were taking their final opportunity to file past Benedict XVI lying in state. After his burial, for the first time in nearly a decade, there'll be only one pope in the Vatican. So what has having the former pope around been like for the current incumbent? We asked one of those closest to him.
It does have an effect. There's a presence there, which is undeniable. I don't think it's obstructed Pope Francis in any way. He's done and said and decided what he wanted to do. But it's a powerful presence of your predecessor. I think most of us have been in the situations where there's a bit of a shadow from our predecessor, and maybe people make comparisons and people say, well, we did it differently in the past.
In recent months, Pope Francis has struggled with mobility. There was speculation he was reluctant to consider resigning while Pope Benedict was around, and that he might now consider that option more freely.
If we had three popes, that would be, we have to say, a little bit difficult to manage, I would say. But now that Pope Benedict has gone to the Lord, I think that, yes, Pope Francis will stick to those principles that he's established, that he will continue in this ministry as long as he believes and sees that he is capable.
Pope Francis has always shown immense respect for his predecessor. In the morning, tens of thousands of people will pour into St. Peter's Square to join him in laying Benedict XVI to rest.
Deborah Jones, who lives in a tiny indigenous community in the Northern Territory, has lost nearly everything after the floods.
Affected by the flood, except for those one there, this one here, all have been, in the water. Okay, some of them were right, but, moist killed everything. Very smelly.
The river is broken its banks and it's now across the road.
Well, I lost nearly half of my stuff. I got 3 children. I got a son and 2 daughters, and they lost half of their belongings and their children's clothing, These are how far the water come up to. See this lining here? That's how far the water come up. Just the flooring, the skirting might be a bit wet, and we try to hose it out, all the dirt and all the old clothing that were on the floor. That the smell, very terrible. George, you gotta look yourself. My son has a heart condition. He's at an operation, and I've got a little granddaughter who was born premature, and she's very small, and she easily can catch cold very quickly, you know. And the moist in the house is not good for those children and people who have bad heart condition or asthma. Now we're going to try and replace everything. We don't have the money to buy the beds and mattresses and stuff like that. Catherine is 285 kilometers to go and cart stuff. And once you get items from there, you got to put it on the truck, and it's very expensive. It is scary when you have floods in your home, you know. Just my house, you know, being underwater, I'm really, I don't feel like I'm coming home.
The first flight from China has landed at Sydney Airport. Travelers from China are now required to undertake a test within 48 hours. Countries including the US, UK, Japan, and India have brought in similar restrictions.
Has been a bit of a mixed response to the testing requirement, both here domestically and internationally. We've already heard that Chinese officials think that the requirement is discriminatory, and they intend to impose retaliatory measures against those countries that have put that into force. But here in Australia, we've also heard from the president of the Australian Medical Association, Steve Robson. Now, he says that the federal government needs to take the politics out of policy making, and that the approach to COVID-19 and pandemic policy has been too hodgepodge up until this point, and it needs to be consistently based on the health advice. He made those comments after it was uncovered that the Chief Medical Officer, Paul Kelly, did not advise that this testing requirement for travellers coming into Australia from China was in fact necessary. The flight that's landed in Sydney this morning is the first of two arriving in Australia from Hong Kong today. The second will touch down in Melbourne at around 12:30 this afternoon. But this testing requirement came out of this rhetoric from the World Health Organization over concerns that China isn't being transparent about the real situation with COVID there.
National EMTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sport. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. PNG Women National Team Manager Deslin Siniu has called on the nation to get behind the PNG National Women's Team as they go into the third and final camp in New Zealand for the FIFA Intercontinental Playoff next month.
The road to the Intercontinental Playoff Tournament for the PNG National Women's Soccer Team has been shrouded with controversy following the inaugural victory at the OFC Nations Cup in Fiji last July. 2 months after the glory and accolades of returning as Pacific Queens, an announcement by the PNG football bosses that they would not be renewing the contract of former PNG National Women's Soccer Team coach Nicole Demain, sparking tensions. Demain's exit led to several senior players frustrated and taking to social media to air their views. Since that time, the performance of the Women's National Soccer Team for friendlies in Australia has been unconvincing. The team left yesterday for Auckland via Brisbane on a Qantas flight, and team manageress Deslin Siniu has called for support from the nation with the camp in New Zealand, part of the ongoing preparations for the opening match against Panama on February the 18th, 2023. Siniu said, and I quote, "We have a young team and they need support from everyone, despite people having different opinions on the makeup of the team." End quote. The former PNG women's captain, come team manager, said said the national team had made football history. So we must get behind and throw our support to the team. With only 1 or 3 spots up for grabs at the Intercontinental Cup, PNG will be vying to make history by qualifying for the FIFA World Cup. Rocky Iso, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The PNG Olympic Committee is calling for applications from interested Team PNG athletes for educational scholarship opportunities in collaboration with the IBS University in Port Moresby. Applications are available for certificate, diploma and bachelor courses and are now open and will close on the 3rd of February 2023. This is the renewal of the university's athlete scholarship with the PNG Olympic Committee and IBS University. With the vision to develop the capability of athletes for life after sport, this athlete scholarship will once again see athletes undergo various courses at the Institute of Business Studies. PNG Olympic Committee President acknowledged the IBS University for the renewal of its continued sponsorship to the PNG Olympic Committee. Sir John acknowledged the continued support from founder Sammy Gnades and the school's management for their continued support of Team PNG athletes with this education opportunity. Since the inception of the program, over 50 athletes from across 20 affiliated sporting codes that make up Team PNG contingents to international multi-sports events have greatly benefited with furthering their education from scholarships and securing jobs following their graduation. And that ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report for the next 24 hours is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
And now we take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, Port Moresby City, cloudy periods with brief showers. Daru, few squally showers. Kerema, cloudy periods with brief showers. Alatau, brief showers. Popondetta, cloudy periods with brief showers. In Momase region, Ley City, brief showers. Medang, few showers with possible thunderstorms. Wewak and Vanimo, mostly fine. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, partly cloudy. Kegviang, cloudy periods. Kokopo and Rabaul, cloudy periods with brief showers. Kimbe, few showers. Buka, cloudy periods with brief showers. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen City, cloudy with few showers and possible thunderstorms. Gurkha and Kundiawa, cloudy with few showers. Mendi and Wabeg, cloudy with few showers and thunderstorms.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
And before we go, a nasty incident along 15 Mile just outside of Port Moresby between a CRV and sedan has led to 5 people being injured. According to St. John Ambulance CEO Matt Cannon, 3 sustained life-threatening injuries due to lack of quick response of St. John's Ambulance, who had 7 units at the crash sites of. All casualties were transported to the Port Moresby General Hospital's Accident and Emergency Unit.
We sent an initial 4 ambulance units to the scene, followed up with another 3 ambulance units to assist. It appears to be a car that's veered off the road down an embankment about 8 metres into the river. The occupants were assisted out of the vehicle by bystanders. One bystander was injured while assisting to rescue the people from the vehicle. The ambulance crews attended to 5 male patients in their 20s and 30s. We attended to 3 casualties that appear to suffer serious injuries, including possible fractures to their pelvis and lower limbs with potentially life-threatening injuries. We had 2 other passengers that were injured as well. All 5 patients were transported to Port Moresby General Hospital. An advanced early notification was given to Port Moresby Hospital within 10 minutes of us receiving the call for the emergency so that they could prepare their emergency department and any other specialties that needed to be involved in the treatment of the patient. And the patients in this case were all attended to at the scene. As you saw, we had about 7 ambulances at the scene and around 10 ambulance personnel.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Thursday, the 5th of January 2023. From the entire news team, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.